Okay, Mary, it's your life.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Perth East special meeting, our budget visiting session on this, the 12th day of July. If everyone could please bow their head for a moment of reflection. Thank you. If you have disclosing or Q&A interest, you can disclose that now. First, we need a motion to accept the agenda as presented. We have a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Daryl. Second by Jerry. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we do not have any delegations. So we'll move right to reports. And our first report is our council budget visiting session. So in your packages, you should have had the answers to all the questions. I think it'd probably be the easiest if we go through each section by section. And if there's comments you want to make or questions, we'll deal with them as we go along. So the first one is number one. What do you see as the objective for the overall budget increase? And everyone put in their answer what they are comfortable with. Is there anyone that has any comments that would like to make in this section at all? Andrew?
Thank you, Mary. It's just my point was 5% max, and that's high for me if anybody's been watching, but you know, we need to get creative and rely on staff a bit to help us out. A lot of it is, I know the cost of living is going up for everyone, but also if anybody's renewing a mortgage in the next 6 months is going to be, or the next year, it's going to be a big unknown with a lot of costs. So keep all these things that are kind of out of our control in mind, and just think of, you know, the lowliest of our residents, the young families and the retired people, right? So that's why I put 5%.
Okay, anyone else? No, okay, then we'll move to number two. Understanding the services under control of the township. What do you consider the most pressing issues facing the township at this time? Is there anyone that wants to make any comments on what they sent in? Jerry?
So we have a number of issues, but one that I highlighted was the social housing that I know the county has the control of it. I see we do have some barbecues that we've been invited to attend to around the township in Stratford, St. Mary's, and again here in Milverton as well. Just maybe building on those relationships, I guess, is a good start. And we have had some concerns from the local East Milverton Business Association that we got the last meeting. Some of those residents that live in those projects. So I think we're moving in the right direction, but and again, it's under the county's control. But as long as we can keep an eye on this, I'm thinking we're moving in the right direction, but just keeping that moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Daryl?
Yeah, no, great. Again, my comments are there. Again, I brought up the fact around the aging population, burnout, and I'm just kind of bringing some minutes back from the county. We are seeing fatigue within the paramedic services. Traditionally, the paramedics were pretty keen for working a pile of overtime. And since the onset of COVID, just the chaos with families and getting kids around, they don't want to work the overtime they used to. So we're seeing recruiting, we're seeing just a huge increase in general in that area, the aging population. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but these are costs that are going to come. I think we're going to see a hiring spree within paramedic services. They're saying like a 60% increase in the next like 2 to 5 years, I believe it was around it. It was huge of calls they're expecting from the paramedic calls. It's big time. So these are things that are going to sneak up on us, and they're going to come back for us to pay. So again, these are realities out there that are going to come back to the ratepayer. Thanks.
Okay. Anyone else? If not, we'll move on to number 3, and it's like most municipalities, Perth East has increased their focus on asset management planning over the last few years. Do you think that the township is well positioned to address infrastructure renewal? Are there other steps or processes you think we should consider implementing moving forward? And I think I'll let Paula comment before we ask for the council's comments. So Paula, maybe you could just touch a bit on asset management.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So council should be aware that the last asset management plan that you approved got us through to the January 1, 2024 OREG 588 requirements. So now we'd be working towards the 2025 requirements. So we've got a bit of time there. So you're good positioned there. Gives us lots of time to clean data up, improve it, and master those requirements for the 2025. As well, I like to see that council is putting that additional $56,000 a year towards the infrastructure deficit and being proactive in addressing that. Now it's going to take until 2058 to eliminate that infrastructure deficit, and but it is a good step in the right direction.
Okay, thanks, Paula. Is there anyone who wants to then comment? Daryl?
Yeah, no, I just, I got to apologize here. I made the comment, it says, yes, we need to run real lean. It was supposed to say, yes, we need not run real lean. My fault. It's in there. I appreciate that it stayed dull. It's kind of humorous and embarrassing, but no, again, I'm just going to make the comment I've made before. At the end of the day, yes, we can't be running around with no money and assets, but the idea that we have high numbers just sitting there so we can do anything and peeling that money, it causes inflation within the community. At the end of the day, the world runs on borrowed money, and we can too. We can borrow money when we need it, and these are issues. If everybody just keeps pulling more, it drives inflation, it drives costs. I don't know. We're sitting good, so these are going to be big issues for the next council. And yeah, I don't know. You can get out of hand stacking money just because so that it's there. We have infrastructure we have to keep up. Not all of this infrastructure seeing high activity, and are we going to keep it all? I imagine. But that being said, we can't be just more money. The world doesn't run that way, and municipalities shouldn't either. Thank you.
Okay. Just before we go on, Eric, could you please send Amanda the link again to get in? She's having some trouble getting
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Mary Higgins.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I was a little bit late there. I guess I missed the 6 o'clock, start note there. Sorry about that.
Don't feel bad. I did too. One of those.
I almost did last year.
Okay, we're going to move to number 4 now. What suggestions or comments do you have for the budget process? And I think pretty well everybody liked how it is. Paula's going to leave it, I think, as it is now, and then if she needs to make changes, she will as the process goes along. So we'll see how we get along this year. So, and then number 5, what new projects would you like to see implemented or investigated? Does anybody wish to elaborate a bit on their comments, or just leave them as they are? Andrew?
It's very good. No, I'm put in there number 5. What are we looking at here? Yeah, the arsenic thing in Shakespeare. So it's not a new project, but it could be a new project. There's been some recent activity that's brought this to light again a little bit here. with a ratepayer contact. And they were under the impression, they're actually a water user. And they were under the impression that, the stained water that we experience from time to time was going to be corrected during this filter put together back in, I think it started in 2020. We had a really hot summer. So that's great. So I remember some of those conversations, and I know that staff was involved, and we had a different direction at that point, which was at that time, Health Unit had extended everything to 2021. I'm just trying to find the timeline a little better here. I'm not sure whether I missed something or the communication wasn't what I thought it was going to be, but it looks like this started in 2018. And just like to get the public, when, especially the existing water users in Shakespeare, when this might be cleaned up, right? There was some concerns about it, as you have in any municipality, washing clothes and baby formula and all that stuff, mixing that with water. So it looks like way back in 2018, the first EA commenced, which is awesome because I think the provincial levels just decreased or increased that January 1st. That was really good response time. We did the public distribution. A bunch of things in that study that's on the website. So it looks like we have about 389 sewer customers, without knowing how many water users. It looks like about 60% on wells and 156 for the remaining 40 on municipal water. So we have these people currently on municipal water who may be experiencing some of these, very infrequent, but they're there, these flushing issues, right? So in that study, though, I noticed when I read that one it's on the Perth East website that was finalized in April of 21, we had 4 recommendations or project summary items that there was number 2 seemed to be the alternative that was evaluated to the township satisfaction. I'm not sure what happened between April 21 and when we had our visioning session, but for me, and outside of the water issue and why we may need to adjust the budget, I'm not sure whether I missed something or what changed or what the timelines were. So I don't think a lot of people, and I'm going to guess that nobody on council realized that study was completed. So I'm feeling that possibly we didn't have, and I drank some nice Shakespeare well water, that we didn't have all the information as that 2021 final screening assessment wasn't presented to council. Now I may be way off. It just, for me, I didn't feel, looking at it now, that I didn't have all the information. It would be nice to get this stuff going and the existing water users, get them all whipped up. We seem to be going a different direction, but I'm thinking that the other one, the Class EA, is already done. That we should probably consider moving ahead with the preferred option at that time was in basically the April 2020 beginning report, which was to, let me see here. Given the foregoing alternative 2, modify existing treatment facilities was selected as a preferred solution to address elevated arsenic concentrations in Shakespeare. So the final public consultation happened, and it was circulated to water system customers, but no other residents of Shakespeare. So the formal notification needed to be completed and sent to Ministry of Environment, and then that study process would be complete after obtaining approvals. So yeah, so the alternative 2 add additional treatment technology existing. So that's seems like these. It's what is here? Yeah. So it's the summary from BM Ross was it provides Shakespeare with an improved water quality supply that would meet all provincial standards once implemented. It can be accommodated with an addition to the existing well house and require little disturbance to the surrounding areas. It will result in no changes to existing source water protection, vulnerable areas, or policies. Also, it requires no significant modifications to existing wells or distribution network. Is it expected to be the most cost-effective and feasible solution? So I think we need to consider, when we discuss all these later, moving ahead with that recommendation I'm not gonna inquire too much more on the workings of how this went by the council table. I don't know the details, and I don't think we need to, but it seems like we have a viable alternative to correct this is ongoing condition since 2018. So, well, it's not an ongoing condition. It's an existing condition that obviously the levels were dropped. So anyway, that's kind of my part, and that's why I put it on here, is because it may affect the budget should we decide. I know we have funding, but yeah, it'd be great to see this going and the existing water customers' supplies buttoned up, and we'll be all good.
You touched on an awful lot of topics there, Andrew. It would have been nice if we would have had all this information ahead of us instead of you trying to ramble on of what you're saying. But anyway, I'm going to let Wes reply.
Here, I guess show some decorum. Rambling is not what I'm doing. I'm reading off.
Oh, I'm sorry I called it rambling, but it would have been a whole lot easier for me to understand what you were all saying if I'd had it in front of me and I was able to look at it and digest it instead of you talk and keep talking and talking. So I'm going to let Wes reply.
Good evening, everybody. So just for a bit of an update, we are having a meeting with BM Ross this Thursday to go through. They've been doing some pricing. Going back to answer some of Andrew's issues, is when they looked at some of the pricing for the arsenic treatment on that small footprint, they found that it was quite high because it was kind of like shoehorning it into that small area there. So that's when BM Ross said, well, maybe we need to look at some alternative places and some things to, that we could maybe put this treatment plant that would be more feasible. And if at any point in time down the road there was any need for an expansion, that there would be enough room for something like that. So that was where that originally came from with the high cost. And I believe they're almost done with all their costing. So and at the end of the day, it will be a council decision. Council will have the final say in as to what actually happens. So I think that's about all I have to say.
Errol?
Yeah, no, interesting as well. I've recently been emailed this file as well that was on the county or on the Perth East webpage. Whatever reason, we never received it. Was an EA study. And the concerns were there was recommendations there. And then now it's pretty tight, is it? They've recently decided that this area is too tight. Is it, Wes? Like, there was recommendations in this report. I know council hasn't seen this, and this is about a week ago I received this report. And yeah, it was on the webpage, but there was EA it was a study from the spring of 21. So I'm just concerned. I know it's a little tight there, but it does just talk about a filtration system and disposal into the landfill with a sand system. So they're thinking it's just too tight. Is this the solid answer we're getting? Is it? Because I do recall seeing once on a report, I think it can handle another 130 houses off that well. I was just curious for sure, because it's really thrown this sideways. It's a little frustrating that this report's being thrown at me.
So to answer your question, the well can handle more users, but the building itself and the infrastructure that's in it cannot. There's 5 pressure tanks in there, and to run another any amount of more people, we would need to definitely do some expanding there. That is for sure. So that, and I guess BM Ross was, kind of shocked when they started getting some prices because of the small footprint. And we would have ended up having to go up quite a ways too. So it might have not even looked that great sitting in that location. So that's why they come up with some other options. And like I said, it will definitely be a council decision as to which way we go here. And I'm hoping to have something to council shortly.
Okay, great. Yeah, I know this grant that was received, it's just concerns $1.5 million. It sounds like a lot, but we all know when many fingers get on this, that might get the cement pad and maybe the pipes halfway back and forth. And there's just great concern floating around the village that there's more to this to make it feasible. So, okay, thank you.
Andrew?
No, through you, Mayor, I guess, if Public Works Manager, Mr. Kipfer could, what's the timeline we're looking at now then? So this is, like, the EA will be completed, and please correct me if I'm wrong. The EA will be completed or is completed. The responder, the people who responded will get their notices of the response and provide extra feedback. And then we'll go into another phase. Like, what's the timeline? It seems like we have quite a bit left to go before we even look at this. Is that correct? Or
Yep, that is correct. There'll be some time yet, and there's public consultation that has to be done. Once we get the report will definitely come to council before it goes to the public, and then council gets to to take a look at it, and if they want to add something or delete something, that's fine, and then it'll go to public consultation for their review, and then we can move forward with tendering and that type of thing.
so just one more, if I may. So the timeline would be, we're looking at 2022 still, or we're into 2023, Wes?
We will be into 2023.
Daryl?
Oh, just a comment. I'll make the comment on the public consultation. I know sometimes you'll see a little article in a paper or something. I just make the comment that we use all avenues of social media, maybe even the Tavistock Gazette as well. That's a main paper, and so that it's very public. Thank you.
Okay, anything else on number 5? And if not, we'll move on to number 6. Anything else that you feel will have an impact on the preparation of the budget? And I know there's some comments there. Does anyone else want to elaborate on what they put in?
Mayor, I think Deputy Mayor McDermott had comments on number 5 still.
Oh, sorry, Hugh, I didn't see your hand.
Nope, that's okay. I put in about maybe spraying more of the roadsides, and that's if it looks like that the weeds are really bad, maybe not wait 3 years to do that, but we just have to have somebody go around and make sure it was absolutely necessary. It's just something to look at. I didn't put in for it that it's something that has to happen.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to number 6. Anything else that you feel will have an impact on the preparation of the budget? Nope. Then we'll move to number 7. What services would you consider cutting? Number 8, what services would you consider reducing?
Mary, it's Daryl.
Yep.
Just sorry there, I was a little late. I flipped the screen. If we could just go back to the one there, consider cutting or reducing.
Yep.
Was there? Yeah. There's cutting and reducing there, isn't there? Hold on a minute.
Yep, 7 is
Yeah.
cutting, 8's reducing.
Okay, you know what? My apologies. I'll wait till 8 here.
Okay, well, I am on 8, so what?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Hey, I just want to have conversation here, and it's something I should have wrote down and I didn't. Our community appreciation night every year. I have received a little, not feedback, not negative, but just wondering if we'd have better success if it's something we ran on a biannual as opposed to annual. I'm just putting it out there for a little conversation if anybody's interested. But I have thought on it, and I'd be open to consider we for the community appreciation night if we made that a biannual or a semi-annual event.
You're talking about the volunteers?
Yeah, the volunteers,
Is that what
sorry.
you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
The volunteer, make that a semi-annual. We're seeing a lot of people just pulling their hair out at multiple angles right now. It's just very busy times. I know it in my house. It just seems after COVID here, it's just a lot of new ways of doing business. Kids, if you have any kids, trying to get babysitters, it seems a lot of things have changed. So I'm just thinking we'd have maybe a little better turnout if it was semi-annual. Maybe not. Open for some conversation.
Okay, anyone else want to comment on that, or you want to look at it some more, or leave it like it is? Amanda?
Maybe just a refresher on what we had for the budget for the volunteer appreciation. I can't recall what we had for that. I think it's really it's really small, so I don't know if like that's really going to save a whole lot is what I was sort of getting at. So I don't know if Becky can speak to that, what the rough figure is.
Yeah, it's actually really big and we use half of it.
And how much is it, Becky? Do you remember?
It's like $10,000. It's like $10,000.
But we use roughly around 5.
5, yeah.
Yeah.
So again, this year wasn't a real huge turnout. Sorry, I'll just, if the rules are slightly relaxed here, it's just something, yeah, so it's 10 grand, we're using about 5. Takes a lot of staff time to organize it. I just think it would be a little more gangbuster if it was semi-annual. And it isn't necessarily all about the money, it would help, but staff too, you know, we can use staff in different departments now and holding up areas and different promotion to get more revenue, if you would. Just maybe not, maybe it's good. I put it out there. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Jeremy?
How many were we missing this year, Becky? I thought it seemed to be a pretty good turnout, but maybe I'm wrong on that too. But how many were we missing?
I honestly don't know the numbers. Paige would have that.
Anyone else want to comment on that? Okay, then we'll move on to number 9. What services would you consider increasing and how do you see it being funded? Anyone want to elaborate on what they wrote or just leave it as it is? Andrew?
I know this is a bit of back and forth over the last term or two, but I'm wondering if we should look at a planning model, just a discussion. I don't know the details and I don't know the possibilities, but if the rest of council's on board, maybe that's something we could possibly investigate briefly and get some staff guidance on possibly bringing planning back, just for convenience sake more than anything. I know we have the new staff member kind of helping with that on our staff, so that maybe just seems kind of the right thing to do. Things change so quickly. I think we've made the right decision along the way, and things have changed, and now we may need to make another right decision. So,
Are you talking number 10? I'm on number 9. I'm a little confused where you are and where I am.
no, you're correct.
What services? Because you commented none. So that's, I guess, why I'm not.
Oh, reducing. Sorry. Yes, no, you're correct. Yep, I'll wait for same comment for the next item.
Okay. Anyone else want to comment on number 9? If not, we'll go to 10. What services would you consider adding and how would you see it being funded? Andrew, do you want to say that again, please?
Probably not able to, but yeah, just I'm wondering if we could look at possibly just having a brief opinion, not tonight, but at some point in the near future, and just maybe evaluate the service and for the planning level. And I know we have a component of some of our staff members is already planning, and it's always good to have like-minded people in one area that's possible. We could bring that back, or at least look at what that would look like if there's any desire to do so.
Mike?
I can certainly defer to Councillor Herlick, but I was going to just speak to the planning piece in particular. Councillor McAlpine, yeah, obviously I'm still new in getting a sense of the activity and the relationship that exists as it relates to the shared service with the county. I would say that, yeah, planning is certainly something that's close to my heart and close to my office. And I am paying very close attention to make sure that it's a service that we do not fall behind on, because I think it's imperative for us. So yeah, to your point, it is being looked at, but maybe not as a report standpoint, more of me trying to get a suss out, making sure that we're providing the best service that we can from the planning standpoint. So just so you know that it is, yeah, pretty high on my radar as well.
Okay, Gerald?
No, that's good to hear there, CO Givens. I appreciate your words there and your steadfastness, if you would, of keeping an eye on it. It is so important. I do receive a couple calls prior to the merger of planning back to the county, and I've received some again. And oh boy, it's something that the community in general, I find, just struggles with, and they need to educate themselves with more than they do. And we all take the brunt of it, whether you're council or the CAO or the building department. We all seem to get sucked into this. I hope, and I want to say almost pray, that we see good leadership. And I don't know what the answer is at this point. It's incredibly busy with COVID. And then on top of that, there is some fast moving new subdivisions, a lot of on-farm activity. I get it's busy, but it does seem a little choppy at times. There's a lot of retirement. I just don't know what to say. It is a little tough one to swallow right now. It's a lot of moving, fast moving, and I'll leave it with the CAO to keep a handle on. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Jerry?
Just to my comment there in regards to the garbage collection. I know we've looked at it a number of times, and obviously there's a significant cost to it. I'm just wondering if we could bring something back as fresher as to what the cost would have been or would be if we did do a once or twice a year collection. Whether it's even partnering because with North Perth or West Perth, because they have blue water as well. I'm not sure if there's any interest around the council table to bring, like I said, bring it back and revisit it. But that's typically the biggest. It is one of the biggest things that I hear in Milverton Ward, and when I'm kind of in the north end of the township, is that big garbage thing in the distance we have to go from this end. I just wondered if there's any interest around the table to have a look at it again.
I guess my question is, there not any junk people to call? Like, there used to be some advertised on TV that they would come pick it up. I know West Perth has a gentleman in their municipality that will come if you call him, and maybe if he had enough stuff, he would come to Milverton and pick it up for several people. I don't know if Paula wants to comment on this. I think it would be a very costly adventure. I'll let Paula maybe speak to that first, and then Jeremy, and then Andrew.
Thank you, Mayor. I think it would be a costly adventure to take, and it's not going to benefit the municipality as a whole. Not everybody's going to use the service, and then you're going to have ones that are angry that the taxes are going up because of the service. I don't know if you can research if you do a large ticket item and have a pickup there, but again, that's going to be a costly service. And yeah, I don't know. This is a tough one. Waste management is tough. There always seems to be the complainers out there for the waste management. I would discourage against a separate line item on the taxes, because that's just going to draw more attention to the fact that everyone's paying for this large item collection. So whether you put it in as a complete cost for your waste management collection, but I wouldn't separate it out. And again, that's mainly partly selfish because I don't want to have to track more rates. But it is going to bring attention to the fact that everyone is paying for that, and they may not be happy if they're not using it.
It's my question too, is who's going to do it? Who's going to pick it up? I'll move to Jeremy now. He had his hand up, and then Andrew, and then Daryl.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, there was a entrepreneur that was going around charging a couple bucks a bag for yard waste. I mean, we could encourage someone to do that again, or we could, you know, maybe we pick it up and charge you for a tag and you got to get it tagged. I don't know, but you know, yard waste can go into your garbage can as well. It just takes up space, right? And it probably ideally wouldn't be there, but if that entrepreneur gets back out there doing it, I know there was quite a few people on my street that I think he charged $3 a bag, and pick that stuff up. So there's an opportunity for somebody there that wanted to try something on the side, not really for the real big stuff, but for the yard waste.
Hey, Andrew, did you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I believe it was me who brought this up last time from the settlement area down here. And I think, and I don't want to speak for Public Works, I think the dollar figure was like $80,000 for one day. So I went back to the ratepayers who asked for this, and they went, wow, and they kind of understood that that's a big ticket for one day, you know. And the other one is green bins, and they have that I get a lot, and they have a lot of their own problems with you know, having compost out in there. So I think the people in this neck of the woods, at least, I haven't heard anything lately, so I think they've resolved to find other ways to get rid of their waste, whether it's their neighbor or junk collectors or whatever. But yeah, it's a lot of money for one day, as I recall.
Okay, Daryl?
We kind of we're kind of hinging on two elements here. So there's one for the green bag, essentially a recyclable yard waste. And then are we talking a garbage day here as well? Correct, Jerry? Or no? Did I digest that wrong? Like a garbage day where couches, all that kind of stuff once a year.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what
The
I
whole
thought.
gamut.
Yeah. So right now there is no place in Milverton at all where people can go to take their twigs or anything like that, correct?
Take them to the dump. So there is a place for them to take up to the dump or in their bins.
Okay. And I think what goes on is sometimes is where you see the differences. I know where there's county dumps that look over the whole county and all the towns, like Oxford, for example, like Tavistock, Hickson, they all go to Salford. And they run a little different system, I know. And I think that's where people get these ideas. We're a municipality. And of course, there's people literally 5 minutes away from the landfill. And then there's some 35 minutes. Yeah, the leaves and branches and that, I'm suspecting there's a lot of fires right now in Milverton at times and smoldering. It is something, wow. Yeah, it would be something unique if for a small portion of the year, they could have an area where they could take their branches and stuff twice a year, you know, spring and fall, maybe. I don't know. I can kind of see them being up there and having concerns. They can't get rid of their stuff unless they phone somebody or drive to the bottom end of the township for all their branches and yard waste.
Okay, anyone else on that topic? Not, we will move to number 11. What other comments would you like to provide leading to future budget consideration? Andrew?
I guess I got the biggest ramble on the sheet, so I'll go ahead. So I know we talk about it and I know a lot of it is common sense, but there's varying opinions and opposing opinions on residential growth specifically in municipal areas. And if we look back at our tax rate, we can see in the area, we've got great tax rates and we've got a low, fairly stable population, and you talk about the benefit of commercial and light industrial and how it pays more. It requires less services, less overhead, less social impacts, what we're talking about quite often, almost every meeting now, right? The residential growth, right? So I'm just wondering if there's any resources we have other than higher entities telling us we have to grow to just see where that line is and see where a smart amount of growth is and the actual benefit, not just to whatever developers and carpenters and all that, which need to have benefit, but to everybody, like the farmer who'll have no real skin in that game other than maybe or traffic or some of these social ills that follow it. So I'd like to understand it. And I don't know whether staff can guide me or any other council member who actually wants to see what growth does. Is there a sliding app or something like that that shows you? I know we use the growth assessment every year to buy some new stuff, kind of like your tax refund, it seems like, for regular people. But I just don't know where that level is. And I'm a little concerned that there's a lot of public resistance for many reasons to this growth. So that's just kind of my ask. Maybe even if it's just a link to something that shows both sides of the story or an opinion, or do we need a training session, or is there any other resources that are available to help us and the public understand?
Anyone want to take a stab at that from staff, first of all? Mike?
So I'll make a general comment, Councillor McAlpine. Yeah, I think some of the issues and the advantages around growth, like you said, are fairly obvious. Assessment growth, comes to mind. Economies of scale comes to mind. I know this council has talked over and over and will continue to talk about recreation amenities. So growth typically puts more butts in the seats, let's say, so to speak, those type of things. The other aspect that is hard to quantify to a certain degree is the existing services that you're going to get economies of scale out of, whether it's wastewater, whether it's landfill sites, whether it's those type of things that already exist that we're trying to get more advantage from. It's hard to quantify. It's there, you can see it, but it really is hard to quantify. Your comment it's not lost on me for sure. There is, and we've had conversations this council has about the social impacts as there is growth. There's increased traffic within a community when you grow people. We don't have a transit system. We're not going to get a transit system in the near future. So there's those aspects. There's a greater expectation that our communities are more walkable, so more need for sidewalks, increased pressure to replace existing infrastructure as you get more people in your community. To find the balance, I think you'd make a lot of money if you could figure that out, Councillor McAlpine, and because I think a lot of communities like Perth East are struggling to find that balance. I didn't answer, give you a sliding scale, but I do think from a staff perspective, we understand all of these pressures or are trying to better understand them and prepare council and the community and our staff for all of those things. So it's a work in progress. The official planned update, that's another aspect too. Are there suitable lands within your communities for growth? That's one question. Can you service them? That's another question. Do you have the amenities in place to allow that growth? All of those things are all intertwined, and it makes it complicated. It also makes it kind of fun for someone in my role, but it is complicated for sure. And we know there's pressures associated with it that you guys feel from a council perspective for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, Daryl?
No, this is an interesting topic for sure. And I'm going to chime in here, just my own opinion. With what knowledge I know on a world level, it's always we got to have 1 million homes by such a date. You'll hear the buzz from the feds in the province pushing down, and one has to ask yourself, what are we tackling? A world issue or our local issue? Can we help the countries where these issues are? We know we have an aging population, so that's going to free up some homes. I would still like to see a cooperative there and get people working in those homes. This mass expansion and mass growth, I've never been one for mass expansion, but I'm definitely pro-growth within reason. That being said, in the last year, I'm going to say I've probably had 20, 50 conversations with ratepayers around growth in Perth County. And sure, we can cover it. Are we going to starve tomorrow? No, I feel confident somebody could feed us, but is that a good place to be in? And these are real conversations that are happening a lot, and people aren't trusting the global agenda, if you would, of how we're going to distribute and get things around. And we really need to start asking ourselves, what's the sweet spot on the growth? And we need to be going up more than down. And I think as a township, we got to promote that. But I have been getting bombarded as well from the agriculture community, and people in cities in hamlets now as well are becoming really concerned and not trusting, if you would, or questioning the chain on a global scale, just the security. And we need to ask ourselves that, and the council's going forward. I agree. And yeah, it's unique. CEO Givens cleared up both sides really well. I agree. But yeah, it's something I think it's going to come to the councils, and more than ever in the next short term. I really do. Thank you.
Anyone else on growth? I guess growth is something that we do need. I think if you remember last year on our tax rates, when we were setting the budgets, if we didn't have growth, our taxes would have been a whole lot higher. I know there's a fine line. You have to figure out how big you want to get or what you want to do. But I do think growth is important. As a business owner, we grew a little every year. You don't have to triple or quadruple in 1 year, but it's nice that you do grow a little bit. And if you don't grow, I think you're going to find that you're not going to be able to keep up with your expenses because you're not getting any bigger. You're not competing. You're staying where you are. And it's a little tougher because the expenses are going up all the time. So if you want to be able to compete, you have to grow somewhat. You don't have to, like I said, you don't have to triple in size. You don't have to quadruple in size, but you should grow somewhere. We are fortunate in Perth East. We have a lot of businesses that want to come to us, which helps our growth. And we have a lot of subdividers who want to put houses in, and that helps our growth. But there is, I will admit with Andrew, there is a fine line. We have to figure out how big we really want to go. So I'm going to ask Paula just to touch on what our taxes would have went up last year without growth, and then what it was going to be with the growth.
Yeah. So Mayor, the 2022 increase to taxes without growth would have been a 5.75% increase. And when you included the growth, it was a 3.52% increase. So you went down 2.2% with the growth.
Right. So growth does help, but you just have to manage it. Andrew?
No, that's great. Thank you, Treasurer Michaels. And I understand that too. I think that it's just how you do it, and if it's secondary farm operations and tax it properly, or light commercial. Yeah, it's just where's that? Where do you see supporting that with staff time, new staff, new buildings, new amenities that would contribute to asset management plan? There's more. I don't know if you call it overhead in this case, what you call it, but it's not a revenue thing. It also seems like there's definitely some cost to growing, and really the whole mantra with the doing the plan for development taxes or whatever. It was kind of growth pays for growth. Well, it's nice when you set it up like that and from a long period, but I don't think you can you set up everything that you're going to get your maximum amount of it. It seems like residential specifically always costs money, right? So there may be different benefits, but yeah, from a strictly financial point of view, it's hard to, it's a big budget. I try to go through it sometimes. My dad was the accountant, not me, to try and find all the transfers, the asset management, and it's a lot of money, right? So we have to understand that when we ask for growth and amenities. That's kind of all the point I want to put forward. Thank you.
Amanda?
Just on growth, I think from my perspective, I think you know, again, some of this has already been discussed. It's about finding that balance, because if we are you know, building more houses, there's always going to be a strain on infrastructure as well, and planning for that. I think for me, the thing that I want to see if there's, you know, more growth in terms of housing is that there's more attainable housing, more variety of different types of housing units, so that our local workforce can be able to move into those units and homes, so that we can keep our local economy going. I think for me, I was really excited that, you know, we've made that made way for industrial land, so that we can have more companies come in and make Perth East home. So when that is ready, I think that's going to be really exciting, so that we can support our current companies that are here and the growth that they want, and maybe a few more as well. We are, of course, to Daryl's point, like there's a lot of discussion in the farm community on preserving farmland, and we are so fortunate to have some of the most prime farmland in Canada, with Ontario home to more than half the country's class 1 prime farmland. So of course, like coming from the farm community myself, that is something important to me, but I think it's one of those things where it's not a black and white issue. So you've got to have balance. So I think also an interesting factor will be when our official plan comes out as a county, and I think that will also be an interesting piece, and certainly the response, you know, what we hear back from the province will be interesting on that as well, because there is, of course, a lot of different pressures from different forces, not just local, but provincial in particular, around housing and development. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that plays out. But of course, I think there's been some really thoughtful conversations and a lot of careful, I think we've been very careful in terms of how we proceed with things. So I think as long as we continue to take those approaches, I think, you know, we're going to hopefully land in a good place.
Okay, Daryl?
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, quick conversation, and we got to watch. We don't, or I got to watch. I don't dwell too long here. It's the same thing though. When you look at those budget lines and you look at the before with growth and without growth, what it would have and what it wouldn't have been. We got to remember there is some big renovations taken down at the county too, and that's getting budgeted in. So you see these infrastructure that we have is behind, and that increases on the budget too. So if you didn't have the growth, you wouldn't need the increase in space. For example, Easor Tavistock in Hickson, they have a very small office. To say it was too small, yeah, but they've been seeing a lot of growth. Well, they're out of room, so now they need a $5 million office, where if they weren't so hog wild, they would have got by with where they were. So these are the things that creep in. It's a real balancing act, that's for sure. I do agree, but I am getting bombarded with where do we want to be in Perth County? When is it going to stop, or what does it look like? We got to start going up, and security. So no, good. I'm glad Andrew really brought this up. Good conversation here. It's recorded. That's important. And there is people wondering. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? If not, that is the questions that we were asked. We do have a motion. I'm sure staff will take into consideration what we've talked about as they proceed now with the budget process. Is there anything anyone wants added, or we would just receive all the comments for information? Jerry? You're muted.
The comments, receive them for information. I assume that's
Okay.
what the motion reads. I would move
So
that.
That the Council of the Township of Perth East received a report entitled 2023 Council Budget Visioning dated July 12, 2022, prepared by the CAO for information. So moved by Jerry, second by Amanda. Is there any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, the next item we're going to move to is the Noel Crest Lodge loan agreement. Mike, do you have anything else you want to add, talk about?
I don't think so, but certainly if there are questions, we just tried to put together some background information to help council make the decision. There's a long history around the loan aspect, so it was an education for me. The one thing I guess I would comment, and I believe it was Councillor McAlpine asked about whether or not there was a policy in place as it relates to loans. There really isn't a policy around it. It was basically, as you can see, kind of from the history, the long-term care home coming forward and asking for support from council and council making decisions at the time around that. So there isn't a particular policy to address it.
Okay, Daryl?
No, just a couple comments here when I look at it. I know we maybe have, I'm just going off the cuff here, but I remember we talked with Eric a bit and just curious. There's not enough information on how the workings and the finance of this business works. It's a non-for-profit, I guess, with multiple levels of management. You know, are they on a performance basis, or we really don't know. There's so much we don't know as to why, or I get it, times are tough. I mean, I'm redoing some mortgages now too. I mean, we're making some big choices here, my family. No new furniture, and the addition on the house is definitely getting postponed for another 5 years. But I'm just curious, you know, it's something I think we need to clean up sooner than later and get that money back. We don't know how people are paid within that place. Is it performance-based, by the hour? I'm sure it's hourly, of course, but is there management who get kickbacks? We don't know. So it's just a gray area. There's no policy. It was off the cuff, and it looks like, you know, it's been extended enough. And I think we need to take a little more of a stiff stance and get it cleaned up. And that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? So who wants to make what for a motion then? Jerry?
Sorry, I'm a little late. I'm not ready to make a motion yet. I really don't think we should forgive the loan. Putting it all back on our ratepayers. And I know we've extended it a number of times. Perhaps that's the option, is to extend it another couple of years. But yeah, an outright forgiveness, it's really tough considering what we're faced with for the increase that we're looking at. So if there's any thoughts about extending it, that would certainly maybe help them. That's just my thought on the request.
Okay, Jeremy?
The letter that we got a couple meetings ago, or was it last meeting, it did seem to insinuate that they were looking for a full forgiveness. And when I read this report, the line that stuck out to me was that I don't know, the under background, the last paragraph on page 9, it says has asked for extended forgiveness of that balance. So are they in fact just asking for an extension here? Because now I was a little bit kind of questioning the ask, because it sounded like on the letter they were asking for full forgiveness. Now it's asking for extended forgiveness of the balance. So I'm not quite sure what that means.
Mike?
Yeah, Councillor Matheson, I believe the way I interpreted the correspondence that we received was that they were looking for full forgiveness. I guess the comment in the background suggests that, as Councillor Smith has raised, that council might consider extending it, but that wasn't the request. The request was for, the way I interpreted the request anyways, was for forgiveness of the entirety of the balance.
I know Eric was trying to get a hold of them. Did they ever return your calls, Eric?
No, I was not able to touch base regarding this letter. But I thought we had worked it out that they were asking for full forgiveness, and if not, then an extension of the loan.
Okay, so they owe, the remaining balance is 50,000. So what does council wish to do? Daryl?
Respectfully, I'm not sure what kind of signing and what kind of management. I see there's that one from just current from, what was her name? Sarah, I believe.
Yep.
I believe, okay, if they want an extension, I'm okay with an extension, one last crack, but it needs to be signed up pretty good here in the event that this falls through. And I'm really on the fence here if we're going out on a limb here, and there shouldn't be some legal involved. Like, this is a little different than normal. In the event that they don't pay, we need to get it cleaned up, and it needs to follow through. There's nobody else in our municipality would get away with this. It's a unique situation, but could you imagine doing this with one's taxes? Well, because you lost your job and your car blew up and your kids are sick, and all legitimate. It don't cut the cheese. So I don't want to come off harsh, but we need some solid paperwork around this crack. Any more comments? Thank you.
Okay, Jerry?
So as we can see, they've never forfeited a payment. They've always paid. I don't think that's an issue. I know they have a number of things coming down that they're going to be needing a new roof. Whatever the upgrades, and mind you, the courtyards, it's a fundraising project, and I don't believe they're going to be asking, well, they did ask money from us and we turned that down. But again, I don't think there's an issue of them paying. They just want a relief or to wipe it out or maybe extend it. So again, there's no issue with them not paying.
Andrew?
Yeah, no, it's obviously important to the local economy. I'm just wondering, typically, like when we do a rec association or something, we see all the books and we know where they're at and where they're going and where the income is, type of things. Obviously, I don't think we can have access to that since this is a private business, but I see the payment schedule was $30,000 every installment. I'm wondering if 25 over 2 years will clear it up, and that's less than the original payment installment might be a suggestion.
Are they paying 30 now or 10 now each year?
10.
10.
Yeah, the payment schedule, the payment term was revised during one of the bylaws. I think in 2013, actually, was when it reverted to payments of 10 annually.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So if they paid 10,000, they haven't paid anything this year, correct? I don't think. Anybody know that answer? No, I don't think they paid this year. So if we left it alone, they paid 10. So the options are: we leave it alone, they pay 10,000 a year, they would have to pay it off in 5 years, or we extend it for a year, maybe 2, then they have 7 years. But if you extend it, are you talking no payments those years? Hugh, do you want to take a crack at this too? Oh, you muted yourself again. Unmute yourself.
There. No, I would be in favor if they paid 10,000 each year for 5 years and then it's done. I don't want it to be on beyond 5 years because they were supposed to have this paid off in 2007 and now we're in 2022. So I think we've been more than fair working with them. So I think if they pay the 10,000 each year for 5 years, I think that would be fair to everybody.
Mike?
Just quickly for clarification, in terms of the conversation, they have made a payment, did make their payment May 26th of 2022. So they have made their 2022 payment, just to clarify for council.
Okay, so then actually only 40,000, right?
No, that brought the balance to 50.
Oh. Okay, so then it would be 2027 till the last.
Right. And yeah, if you look, sorry, if you can scroll through, I know there's a lot in there, down to
The last page, 2022.
22.
Page 22.
yeah, page 22. Yeah.
Yeah.
And going back to Deputy Mayor McDermott's comments, yeah, if we ask them to continue on, they would have a zero balance at the end of 2027.
Okay, Jerry?
So I just want to get Councillor McAlpine's, he had mentioned an option, the 25,000 over 2 years. So you're suggesting that we do cut it in half, what they owe remaining, and have them pay 12,500 next year and 12,500. Okay, so I guess I misread that. You had said 25,000. So
I think he meant
Yeah,
two payments. Did you not mean two payments, Andrew? 25,000 each year, and it's paid off in 2 years.
oh, I would not be in favor of that one. Sorry. I'm continuing on with the current agreement as CAO has mentioned, and then Deputy Mayor. That's maybe the road to go because we are in a tough year.
Andrew?
No, the original deal was 30,000 a year, right? So that's less than the original deal before it's been modified and deferred. So that's why I suggested that. I wonder if it's beneficial to have staff generate a policy if we think it's going to be valuable for down the road in case to guide us and future councils in case this type of request comes by in the future. Just a suggestion to whoever's moving.
Okay, so who's prepared to make a motion? I have that Council Township of Perth East received the report entitled No Crest Lodge Loan Agreement dated July 12, 2022, prepared by the CAO for information. And I could put, and that the payments remain at 10,000 a year until 2027 when the loan is paid off. Hugh, you want to move that? So moved by Hugh. Second by Carol. Jerry?
So it sounds like this is the route we're going to take, but it's too bad that we couldn't have gave them something towards that project. I'm not sure if it's still possible out of our economic development fund or something, perhaps. I'm not sure where they're at with their courtyard, but yeah, we've heard a couple of councillors say we know this is an employer within our township that employs our citizens, our ratepayers, and the caregivers that come and attend the residents. And I just wish we could support them in some way, but I won't be voting in favor of keeping it the same.
Amanda?
Just in terms of that comment, I think my concern in terms of forgiving the loan is that it does set a precedent. And so obviously with not having a policy in place, that puts the corporation and the township at risk. So I would not be in support of that. I just don't think it financially makes sense. I think we have really done what we can to work with the organization. It is very concerning that we have not heard back. I don't know whether it's through staff or whether it's the board of directors that we're having a challenge with. But I think, from a risk standpoint, from protecting the corporation's interest, I'm a bit concerned, especially since we don't have a policy in place. So I will be supporting the motion that's on the table.
Daryl,
Again, as well, I gotta go with what's on the table here, and I'd like to see this cleaned up. I've made the comments again, they just slow getting back to us. We don't know the financials of this, how it works for sure, what kind of kickbacks there are. There's a lot of unknowns. We have no policy around this. It's a little gray that this happened. Of course, politics wasn't on my mind when this all shook down, and here we are cleaning it up. So, and as far as a policy going out of this, I think we just better wait till the province mandates us and keep clear of it. I get what Andrew's saying. It's unique. But yeah, I'm going to support what's on the table here. And again, it's just a little frustrating. We never heard back. Thank you.
okay, anyone else? So we do have a motion on the floor that we receive it for information and that $10,000 a year be paid back until 2027 when the loan is paid off. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, and next we have finance discussion items. So Paula's put together some items here. I'll let Paula speak to it.
Thank you, Mayor. For council's information, I put a few sheets in the budget visioning package here for your consideration, and just to get it fresh in your mind as to kind of what we're going to be faced with. So the first one is the consumer price index chart. And the way it's calculated in the past is from August to July. It's the average of the CPI. So right now we're running at a 5.47% average. I anticipate it'll probably be closer to 6% by the time we get to July. That's just a guess of mine. I'm hoping it's not that high, but that's kind of what I've estimated. And just for council's reference as well, I calculated using that 5.5% and a 6% CPI increase on wages alone. That would equate to it would range from a 3% to a 3.3% levy increase. So that's what you're looking at right now for the CPI increase for wages, if that's approved. And then the next sheet is just to give council an idea of a 1% levy increase, what that amount would be. So right now it's just under $93,000, a 1% increase. So that's what we're looking at for that. And the next one was the reserve continuity report that I enclosed. And this is the budget report because the activity obviously hasn't been recorded for 2022 as of yet, because most of that gets recorded at year end once we know the activity and where we shake out with the expenses. So the reserves in 2022 are projected to decrease by $627,000. Now I will note with council that DCs weren't budgeted in that, and I believe it was due to not having a history and an estimate for what the DCs would be since they're new. So my hope is that that decrease will be offset by DCs that were collected in 2022 and that the reserves would remain fairly consistent. And then the next sheet in there is the unfunded capital. So there's a few projects there that need to be funded. We're working away at funding them. The Shakespeare Sewer Project will be fully funded in 2022. So that'll come off the books. So that'll be good. And the others, they range from 1.5 to 8.5 years at the projected levels right now for being fully funded. Then the next one is the levy distribution. So for the 2022 levy distribution, I just wanted to give you an idea of where that levy is being allocated by what department and area in the municipality. So it ranges from 44% in transportation services down to a 2% in both conservation authority and bylaws and the environment, cemetery, and planning areas. So yeah, if council has any questions on any of those, I can try and answer them or go from there.
Okay, thanks, Paula. Any questions, Paula, on any of those items? Andrew?
Yeah, if I could just quickly ask, the Shakespeare Sewer Project, that's the one where the users have a loan with the green infrastructure fund. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not us. Do we just hold that loan for them, or how did that?
Yeah, we debentured that internally, I believe is what it was. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, Jerry?
Just a quick one, Paula. So what was last year's CPI? I didn't look back. You predict an average of going to be 5.47 or almost 6%. Just a comparison.
I'm just looking real quick. Just
Yep.
give me a second here. I think it's in here. I want to say it was around a 1.7. If I'm recalling
Wow.
correctly.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big increase.
Mhm.
Big increase.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is a big, I was gonna say around 2, but I think you're right, 1.7.
Yeah.
It is a huge increase.
Mhm.
Okay, any more questions for Paula? If not, we do have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the finance discussion item charts as prepared by the treasurer dated July 12, 2022 for information. Moved by Jeremy. Second by Andrew. Any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, we have no correspondence. Do we have any new business? No, then we have a confirmation bylaw, that bylaw number 36-2022, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Township of Perth East at its special meeting held on July 12, 2022, be read a first, second, and third time. Moved by Amanda. Second by Jerry. All in favor? Carried. And that we adjourn at 7:23. The meeting be adjourned at 7:23, moved by Amanda. Second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your input. That'll give staff a great chance to where we're going with the budget. Jerry, do you have something